Wow, China is quickly becoming the global leader with its cutting-edge technology and rapid growth. However, along the way, it has made some significant missteps. Take a look at these towering skyscrapers. Who would have thought that these tallest structures, once in the process of being built, would eventually face demolition? In this video, we're going to dive into some of the most jaw-dropping mistakes involving China's tallest buildings. Each demolition will leave you speechless. The Golden Flower Building demolition. In November of 2015, China witnessed a historic event with the demolition of the Golden Flower Building in Xi'an City. Standing at 118 meters tall, it became the tallest skyscraper ever demolished in the country. Originally built in 1996, this towering structure remained largely unused for decades. Despite being legally owned by the Genoa pharmaceutical factory, attempts to remodel the building were deemed too expensive, leading to the decision to tear it down. To carry out the demolition, China enlisted the help of the Pangchang Explosion Company. The team began by digging a 13-foot deep trench around the building's perimeter to minimize the impact of the blast. Armed with an impressive 1.4 tons of dynamite and 12,000 detonators, the demolition unfolded in dramatic fashion. Within moments, the once imposing structure came crashing down, marking a quick and effective end to the building's life. However, the cleanup process was far from swift. It took over 70 days to clear away the massive pile of debris, which reached heights of up to 66 feet. Once the site was cleared, construction of a new commercial complex began, promising retail stores and residential spaces in place of the former tower. The rise and fall of Landmark Tower. Landmark Tower, once the tallest skyscraper in Fort Worth, Texas, stood at 380 feet and 116 meters and made a stunning impression when it opened in 1957. At the time, it wasn't just the tallest building in the city, it also housed the largest revolving digital clock in the world, proudly displayed atop the tower for decades. The building was a bustling hub, fully occupied and thriving. However, after 30 years of service, Landmark Tower began its decline. By 2000, it was abandoned, and things took a turn for the worse when a tornado caused significant damage to the structure. It became clear that the building's days were numbered. In 2006, Midwest Wrecking Company was called to bring down the iconic tower. After evacuating 15 blocks, they used over 360 pounds of explosives to implode the structure in mere minutes, ending its decades-long presence in the city. In 2016, the site was cleared to make way for a new parking garage, marking the final chapter in the tower's history. The demolition of J.L. Hudson's department store. The J.L. Hudson's department store in Detroit, Michigan, was a monumental structure that stood tall for nearly 80 years. Built in 1911, the store reached a height of 134 meters, making it the tallest department store in the world at the time. It housed everything from retail stores to office spaces, becoming an iconic symbol of the city. However, in 1998, the historic building was demolished, attracting 20,000 spectators eager to witness its dramatic end. The implosion was so powerful that it shattered the windows of nearby abandoned stores and caused unintended damage to the Detroit People Mover, an elevated train system. The sheer force of the blast left an indelible mark on the area. Since the demolition, a new 912-foot skyscraper has been under construction on the site, expected to open in 2022. This new building is set to rise as a symbol of Detroit's ongoing transformation and growth. The Leaning Tower of South Padre. Nestled on South Padre Island in Texas, not far from SpaceX's new Starship facility, Ocean Tower was once an ambitious luxury condominium project. Standing at 115 meters, 375 feet tall, it promised residents opulence with amenities like a swimming pool, gym, and spa. However, just 2 years into construction, things took a disastrous turn. Cracks began to form in the support columns, and engineers discovered that the building's base had sunk by nearly 16 inches, causing the structure to lean dangerously. Dubbed the Leaning Tower of South Padre, the project quickly became a costly nightmare. Despite efforts to save it, engineers concluded that repairs would be both impractical and prohibitively expensive. By December 2009, the building's fate was sealed. Controlled Demolition Inc. was tasked with the spectacular implosion, that would reduce the $75 million tower to rubble in a matter of seconds. At the time, it was the largest concrete structure ever demolished this way. For safety reasons, the island was evacuated, and the park next to the tower was closed for the day. Still, locals and tourists gathered in nearby hotels and restaurants to witness the dramatic end of the ocean tower. What was meant to be a symbol of luxury and success ultimately became a reminder of the unpredictable nature of construction: the demolition of AF Tower. In 2014, AF Tower in Frankfurt, Germany, became the tallest building ever to be demolished in Europe. Standing at 116 meters, the tower was once part of GAA University's campus. Initially, the plan was to dismantle the building piece by piece. However, complaints from residents about the slow progress led to a bold change in plans. The decision was made to bring the tower down with explosives. This move quickly captured widespread media attention. Over 30,000 spectators gathered on site to witness the spectacle. When the demolition began, it was nothing short of dramatic. A powerful blast took down the building's concrete skeleton, creating a massive rumble. Seconds later, 2 additional blasts on the 5th and 17th floors separated the building's core, causing the structure to collapse in 2 directions, one part falling south, the other north. The destruction of AF Tower marked the end of an era for the university campus. In the years following the demolition, a new building, 140 West, was erected on the site. Unfortunately for GAA University students, the new structure is a sleek residential and hotel tower, offering luxury apartments and hotel rooms, a far cry from the tower's original academic purpose. The demolition of Power Station Westerholt. The demolition of Power Station Westerholt's towering chimney in Germany remains one of the most spectacular feats in controlled demolition history. Standing at an incredible 337 meters, this chimney was the tallest structure ever brought down in such a way. While there have been other demolitions of mega-tall chimneys, Westerholt's height set it apart from the rest. Built in 1981, the chimney was part of a power station that was decommissioned in 2005. A year later, the decision was made to bring it down. The demolition team carefully planned 2 explosions, one at the base and another at the middle. The force of these blasts sent the massive structure crashing to the ground in mere moments. The event attracted so many spectators eager to witness the moment that it caused a delay in the demolition. However, when it finally occurred, the towering chimney crumbled into a massive pile of debris, marking the end of an industrial era in Westerholt. The epic demolition of Brighton Point Power Station. While not a traditional building, the demolition of Brighton Point Power Station in Somerset, Massachusetts, remains one of the most memorable implosions in history. This coal power plant, which began operations in the 1960s, continued producing power until May 2017. After its shutdown, the company that owned the facility decided to demolish 2 of its towering cooling structures in 2019. What followed was nothing short of spectacular. The explosion set a world record as the cooling towers, each standing 500 feet tall, became the tallest cooling towers ever to be demolished. The blast surpassed the height of the Trojan nuclear power plant's cooling tower, which had previously held the record since 2006. News of the demolition spread quickly, attracting spectators from all over New England, who flocked to Brighton Point to witness the event firsthand. In the months that followed, crews continued dismantling the plant, and the demolition generated even more drama. As scrap metal from the implosion piled up, fires erupted days later, adding an extra layer of chaos to the already intense demolition process. It was a true spectacle from start to finish. The demolition of Mina Plaza. Although Mina Plaza was never fully completed, it earned the title of the tallest building ever to be demolished. This ambitious complex, which featured 4 separate towers, stood at an impressive 165 meters tall. Construction began in 2007, but by 2012, the project came to an abrupt halt due to a dispute with the owners. Developers initially planned to resume work in 2014, but financing issues left the towers abandoned and incomplete. By 2020, the government of Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, decided it was time to bring the unfinished skyscrapers down. Not only had the half-built complex become an eyesore, But the demolition was also part of a larger plan to redevelop the Mina Zayed port area. The demolition team took every precaution to ensure the safety of those nearby, carefully analyzing the towers and the surrounding areas to minimize risks. Using a staggering 13,000 pounds of plastic explosives, the team set off a series of precisely orchestrated blasts. 3 of the towers collapsed first, followed by the 4th just 10 seconds later, transforming the once proud structure into a massive pile of rubble. The demolition marked the end of a troubled chapter for Mina Plaza and paved the way for new development in the heart of Abu Dhabi. As these million-dollar buildings were left abandoned and finally demolished, they serve as a reminder of how even the grandest mega-projects can falter. Shanghai's toppling tragedy. Buying a home is often seen as a cornerstone of stability, but for those who invested in the Lotus Riverside project in Shanghai, it turned into a nightmare. On June 27, 2009, one of the 11 newly constructed 13-story apartment blocks completely toppled over, resting eerily intact on its side. Thankfully, no residents had yet moved in, but tragically, a worker retrieving his tools inside the building lost his life. The cause of this jaw-dropping collapse was a disastrous misstep in construction planning. To build an underground garage on the south side of the block, workers dug a massive pit and heaped the excavated dirt on the north side. This decision created a dangerous imbalance, destabilizing the soil structure beneath the building. Unable to bear the immense pressure, the concrete foundations snapped, causing the structure to tip over like a fallen domino. Amazingly, the other 10 apartment blocks remained upright, but the incident left 400 prospective homeowners shaken. Fearful of further collapses, they immediately demanded refunds. The developers were hit with nearly $2 million in damages and an additional $3 million in cleanup costs. This costly disaster highlighted the critical importance of sound engineering practices. The collapse of the Lotus Riverside building stands as a cautionary tale in the history of modern construction, proving that even the grandest plans can crumble under the weight of poor decisions. Naypyidaw, a city built for power. Imagine a city 8 times the size of New York, but eerily devoid of life. A sprawling metropolis with 20-lane highways that lead nowhere. This is Naypyidaw, the peculiar capital of Myanmar. A city built not for its people, but for its ruling elite. Despite its vast size of nearly 3,000 square miles, Naypyidaw remains an empty shell, home to less than 1/8 of New York's population. Declared the capital in 2005, the city's creation was fueled by the military government's paranoia. Leaders feared that Yangon, the previous capital, was too vulnerable to a sea invasion. Naypyidaw's central location seemed like a strategic choice, but as a place to live, it is far less practical. The city boasts a lavish 100-room presidential palace and an extravagant 31-building parliamentary complex, but it lacks essential amenities for ordinary citizens. With only one high school, few shops, and minimal public transportation, it's no wonder businesses and residents remain in Yangon. The price tag for this grand but hollow project was a staggering $4 billion, around 5% of Myanmar's annual GDP, funded by public money. Naypyidaw is less a functioning capital and more a fortress of power for Myanmar's leaders. This gleaming city tells us much about the government's misplaced priorities. The Challenger disaster, a tragic lesson. Space exploration, a symbol of human ingenuity and ambition, has seen both triumphs and devastating failures. One of the most heart-wrenching tragedies occurred on January 28, 1986, when NASA's Challenger shuttle exploded just 73 seconds after liftoff. The catastrophic event claimed the lives of all 7 crew members aboard, including Krista McAuliffe, a teacher who was set to be the first civilian in space. The Challenger shuttle, which was expected to serve for a decade, had completed only 3 years of its mission. The disaster was traced back to a failure of the O-rings in the right-hand rocket booster. These critical rubber seals were designed to contain the immense pressure of burning rocket fuel. However, on the day of the launch, freezing temperatures caused the O-rings to stiffen, preventing a proper seal. As the shuttle ascended, flames escaped, burning through the booster wall and rupturing the external fuel tank. This breach released liquid hydrogen and oxygen, which ignited, destroying the shuttle. Tragically, engineers had flagged issues with the O-rings as early as 1977 and specifically warned against launching in cold weather. their warnings were ignored, leading to a disaster that grounded the shuttle program for 3 years. Adjusted for inflation, the costs of the Challenger disaster and the resulting consequences totaled an astronomical $15 billion. Beyond the financial toll, the Challenger disaster remains a tragic reminder of the cost of oversight and the fragility of human dreams in the face of nature's forces. It stands as one of the darkest days in the history of space exploration. The slow giant of Yokohama. In recent years, the race to develop advanced robotics has reached new heights, leading to some truly fascinating, if not occasionally absurd, creations. One of the most extravagant examples can be found in Yokohama, Japan, the full-scale Gundam suit based on the RX-78-2 mech suit from the iconic Gundam anime series. This towering robot stands at an impressive 59 feet tall and weighs 25 tons. It's a massive piece of engineering that instantly captures the attention of anime fans and robotics enthusiasts alike. However, while the sheer scale of the Gundam is inspiring, it's far from the futuristic battle machine depicted in the anime. Despite its imposing stature, the Gundam's capabilities are limited. It can take a few slow steps forward and bend down on one knee, resembling a sluggish grandma rather than a fierce mech warrior. Essentially, it serves more as a tourist attraction than a functional robot ready for battle. Though the exact cost of this colossal Gundam has never been revealed, a similar smaller statue in Tokyo, which only moves its head, set the city back about $100,000. Given the scale and ability of the Yokohama Gundam to move its entire body, it likely cost much more. Even if its practical use is questionable, it's clear that this gigantic robot brings joy to countless fans, and perhaps that's all that truly matters. Costa Concordia. Few disasters have captured the world's attention like the tragic sinking of the Costa Concordia, a colossal cruise ship designed to be a floating paradise. Launched in 2006, this 114,000-ton, 950-foot-long vessel could carry over 4,000 passengers and crew. Built at an eye-watering cost of $570 million, the Costa Concordia promised luxury and adventure until its fateful voyage in January 2012. While navigating the picturesque Mediterranean waters near Tuscany, Italy, Captain Francesco Schettino decided to perform a sail-by salute, veering the ship dangerously close to the shoreline to greet onlookers. Overconfident in his skills, Schettino turned off the ship's computer navigation system and relied solely on sight to execute the maneuver. Disaster struck less than 1,000 feet from shore when the ship hit an uncharted rock on the seabed. The collision ripped a massive gash in the hull, causing the Costa Concordia to partially capsize. The tragedy claimed 34 lives and left many more injured and traumatized. Rescue efforts were heroic, but couldn't prevent the staggering loss of life. Beyond the human toll, the aftermath was a logistical and financial nightmare. Refloating the wreck took over 2 years, followed by a 200-mile journey to Genoa for dismantling. Cleanup, scrapping, and compensation costs soared to an astounding $2 billion, enough to build nearly 4 new ships. The Costa Concordia remains a chilling incident of how negligence and overconfidence can transform a symbol of luxury into a maritime tragedy of epic proportions. Its haunting legacy continues to influence safety protocols in the cruise industry today, the border wall that missed the mark. Whether praised or criticized, former President Donald Trump's infamous border wall stands as a polarizing and incomplete legacy of his 2016 campaign. Promising a big, beautiful wall spanning 1,000 miles, funded entirely by Mexico, the ambitious project captured headlines and divided opinions. However, the reality fell far short of the vision. To date, the wall stretches only 450 miles, less than half of the promised length, and only 47 miles of this are new construction. The rest involves reinforcing pre-existing sections with steel bollards. While designed to be a formidable barrier, the new additions have proven underwhelming. Viral videos showcase individuals effortlessly scaling, hopping over, or even walking around certain segments. Some sections are reportedly so poorly built that they are already showing signs of wear, with fears they could collapse entirely in the near future. The financials tell a similarly sobering story. Far from Mexico footing the bill, the entire $15 billion cost has come out of US taxpayers' pockets, an average of $32 million per mile of new construction. Worse yet, Annual maintenance costs are projected to reach as high as $28 billion, turning the wall into an ongoing financial burden. For many, this feels like an unfulfilled promise with a hefty price tag, akin to footing the bill for an extravagant dinner your companion conveniently forgot to pay for. While it may serve as a political symbol, the wall's incomplete structure and soaring expenses leave Americans wondering if the grand vision was ever realistic or simply an empty promise. The costly failure of the MJU nuclear plant. Procrastination can lead to wasted time, but the MJU nuclear power station in Japan's Fukui Prefecture makes my lack of productivity look like a success. Since receiving approval in 1983, MJU has only managed to produce a shocking total of 1 hour of power over several decades. This nuclear plant, designed as a prototype fast breeder reactor, was meant to recycle nuclear fuel and generate even more energy, making production more efficient. While the concept seemed promising, the execution was riddled with failure from the start. The project was plagued by problems, including the discovery of 14,000 faulty components, many of them vital to the plant's safety. In 1995, a fire broke out, and staff attempted to cover it up by editing security footage, adding an embarrassing layer of dishonesty to the mix. The plant's struggles continued when, in 2010, a 3.3-ton refueling machine fell into the reactor vessel, causing damage so severe that it couldn't be retrieved. The Fukushima disaster in 2011 only intensified the public's mistrust of nuclear power, and MJU's reputation was forever tarnished. After consuming nearly $122 billion in government funds without meaningful results, MJU was shut down in 2016. But the damage wasn't over. Deconstruction is expected to take until 2047, costing an additional $3.4 billion. In total, this failed venture will have cost over $15 billion and spanned 6 decades, making MJU one of the most expensive and prolonged examples of how not to run a nuclear facility. Ironically, the plant was named after the Buddhist deity of wisdom, MJU, adding an extra layer of bitter irony to this colossal disaster. Forest City. Lately, many are striving to live more sustainably by recycling, donating items, and choosing eco-friendly alternatives. However, some projects, like Malaysia's Forest City, highlight the massive challenges countries face in implementing sustainable changes. In 2006, Malaysia unveiled the ambitious Forest City project, aiming to create a futuristic model city with 4 artificial islands off the coastal wetlands of Johor. The vision was grand: luxurious towers wrapped in greenery, car-free roads, and smart apartments designed to operate with minimal intervention. However, despite the grand opening in 2016, the project has struggled. By 2019, only 15,000 units had been sold, far from the target of 700,000 units, and only around 500 people actually live there, turning Forest City into a ghost town. Initially targeting affluent Chinese buyers, the project faltered when the Chinese government imposed a yearly $50,000 spending limit on foreign purchases. The COVID-19 pandemic and a political crisis in Malaysia further worsened the situation. The most basic apartments are priced at $100,000, far beyond the average Malaysian's annual salary of $1,000, making it nearly impossible for locals to afford the living spaces. Worse still, the construction has caused irreversible damage to the surrounding protected wetlands, undermining the project's environmental claims. To date, the development has cost a staggering $100 billion, making it one of the most costly failures in urban planning. Now, the area is eerily populated only by plastic animals, contributing to a haunting atmosphere. It's no surprise people are hesitant to move to this costly and underpopulated ghost town. The monument that never was. In the heart of Custer County, South Dakota, stands a monument that epitomizes ambition yet remains far from finished, the Crazy Horse Memorial. Conceived in 1939, it was intended to honor the legendary Lakota war hero Crazy Horse, who led his people in defending their lands from the encroaching federal government. Crazy Horse was tragically fatally wounded in 1877, but his legacy lived on through the vision of Lakota Chief Henry Standing Bear. Standing Bear commissioned Polish-American sculptor Korczak Ziolkowski, renowned for his work on nearby Mount Rushmore, to create a monument of Crazy Horse on Thunderhead Mountain. Ziolkowski's vision was as grand as it was audacious, a statue 641 feet long and 563 feet tall, larger than the mountain itself. Fast forward to today, and only Crazy Horse's face has been completed, finished in 1998, a full 50 years after work began. Since then, progress has been agonizingly slow, despite Ziolkowski's relentless dedication and his family's continued efforts after his death. Millions of dollars in donations and tourism fees have been collected, yet the monument remains largely incomplete. Even more troubling is the fact that Thunderhead Mountain was originally a sacred burial ground for the Lakota people. Construction has desecrated the very land Crazy Horse fought to protect, contradicting everything he stood for. What was intended as a tribute to an indigenous hero has, over time, become a controversial, money-driven project. As the monument sits unfinished, it raises a critical question. Has it become more about ego than honoring history? The Amazon Stadium fail? With over 3.5 billion fans worldwide, soccer reigns as the most beloved sport on earth. So, when Brazil hosted the 2014 World Cup, the country was determined to impress by building state-of-the-art stadiums. However, one project, Arena da Amazônia in Manaus, left the world scratching their heads. Nestled deep in the Amazon rainforest, this massive stadium may be the most impractical soccer venue ever built. Manaus is isolated, with no roads connecting the city to the coast. Construction materials had to be shipped up the Amazon River, driving costs significantly higher. The scorching rainforest temperatures also proved too harsh for the grass on the field, which withered and turned brown. In a desperate attempt to salvage appearances, organizers resorted to painting the grass green, a far cry from expectations for a $300 million stadium. After the World Cup, the stadium's post-tournament life has been dismal. The local team, Nacional, plays in the fifth tier of Brazilian soccer, with games rarely attracting more than 3,000 spectators, a fraction of the stadium's 44,000-seat capacity. Aside from occasional Christian concerts, the stadium remains mostly empty. Arena da Amazônia stands as a cautionary tale of poor planning and misallocated resources. H3. Highway, Hawaii's controversial road. Hawaii is famous for its breathtaking landscapes, turquoise waters, lush rainforests, and the iconic charm of hula dancers. Yet, hidden within this paradise lies a road that has sparked intense debate, the H3 Interstate Highway. Although part of the U.S. interstate system, the H3 highway's designation is misleading. Hawaii is an isolated archipelago, far removed from other states, making the term interstate questionable. The 15-mile road connects downtown Honolulu to the Marine Corps Base Hawaii, but its history is fraught with conflict. Approved in 1960, the highway faced fierce opposition for threatening to destroy ancient trees and sacred Hawaiian burial grounds. Construction finally began in 1989, and the highway was completed in 1997 at a staggering cost of $1.3 billion, approximately $80 million per mile. The toll wasn't just financial. Many sacred sites were destroyed, leaving a lasting wound on the local community spirit. Today, H3 stands as a ghostly symbol of poor planning and mismanagement. Some locals even claim the road is cursed by the spirits of those disturbed during its construction. Underused and controversial, it exemplifies the cost of progress at the expense of cultural preservation. The unused marvel of the HZMB Bridge. Imagine cutting a 4-hour trip down to just 30 minutes. That's the promise of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, HZMB, a stunning engineering marvel spanning over 34 miles. As the longest sea-crossing bridge in the world, it connects 3 of the world's most densely populated cities. Completed at a cost of $8.8 billion, the bridge drastically reduces travel time and should be a game-changer for commuters. However, despite its impressive design, the bridge remains largely unused. Crossing the bridge requires a special permit, which is restricted to top investors, politicians, and academics. Your vehicle must be registered in all 3 cities, and only 400 permits are issued daily. Many speculate this restrictive access is a deliberate attempt to control overcrowding in Hong Kong, but it raises an intriguing question. Why build such an expensive bridge if most people can't use it? The HZMB has become a perplexing project, leaving many to wonder if there's more to the story than meets the eye. Something doesn't quite add up. That's all for today. Which of these ambitious projects left you speechless? Let us know your thoughts, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.